Buddhaṃ 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 Vande Dhammaṃ 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 Vande Saṅgaṃ 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 Vande Buddhaṃ Dhammaṃ Saṅgaṃ Vande Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Sākāto bhagavata dhammo sandintiko akaliko panseko opanayiko panchantaṃ veditambo vinyohiti. Homage to the Exalted One, the Worthy One, the Supremely Enlightened One. Dear friends in Dhamma, today we are going to discuss the qualities of the Dhamma. I think all of you know the Dhamma. Dhamma has several meanings in Buddhism. Sometimes Buddha has used the Dhamma as mental formations. Sometimes he has used the Dhamma word as the old doctrines that he has explained in his lifetime. Sometimes Buddha has explained the word of Dhamma for wholesome and unwholesome mental states. Like that, in fourfold mindfulnesses, Dhammanupassana, there we contemplate on not only wholesomeness but unwholesomeness too. Pancha Nivarana, Satta Bojjhanga, everything are reflected on there. And here we are going to discuss in first the qualities of the Dhamma, what the Buddha taught. Buddha says, whether a Buddha appeared or not in this world, this Dhamma is forever. From time to time, the Buddhas appear in the world. They themselves discover this Dhamma and they proclaim this Dhamma to the world. And also Buddha says, this Dhamma is an ancient path that other previous Buddhas also have discovered and proclaimed to the world. This is not a very new thing. But in this eon, the Supreme Buddha discovered this message first time. That is why we respect him. But Buddha says everyone can realize this message by themselves. And also Buddha says very special thing that this is a discovery. This is not a creation. When we think about the world, we can see creations and discoveries. This building is a creation. These instruments, these goods are creations. But there are some things in this world like, gems, jewelry, soil, water. They are discoveries. We are unable to create soil, water, jewels, gems. They are discoveries. Buddha's message also like that. It is a discovery. From time to time, the Buddhas who appear in the world, they discover this message and also they explain this message to the world kindly. And it is very important to understand the qualities of the Dhamma. In Buddha's words, Buddha say, Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo, this formula has been explained by the Buddha and some devotees too. And Buddha says, Swakhato Bhagavata Dhammo. Dhamma is well expounded by the Buddha, by the Blessed One. Sanditiko, visible results. Akaliko, immediately effective. Opanayiko, leading onwards. And Ehipasigo, inviting come and see. And Pachatang Veditabbo Vinyohi, and to be personally realized by the wise. We should have some kind of wisdom or intelligence at the beginning of the path of liberation. But when we listen to Dhamma, little by little we develop our wisdom to the maximum level. But Buddha has explained very clearly, this Dhamma is for wise people, not for fools. That is very important. On the other side, Buddha says, Janato aham bhikkhave passato asvanam kayam vadami, no ajanato, no apassato. I proclaim the liberation from negative thoughts, defilements for those who know the path, who see the path. For example, if you go to a place where you haven't been, then, first of all, we should know the place where you are going to, the address. That is the very first thing. Even though you have enough courage, dedication, if you don't know the place, the address where you are going to, your effort is useless. Dhamma also like that. Sometimes some people are very hurried to practice meditation, practice Dhamma, but they don't know what they have to practice. It is said in, Sinhala culture as, what's the thing? Who go to Kalua Marapane Giyawagi? There is a person whose name is Kalua. His master said that one day, Mr. Kalua, tomorrow you have to go to Marapane, the place like Los Angeles. And in the morning he got up and he went to Marapane and he came back. Then master asked him, why did you do? Master, you said me that morning I have to go to Marapane and come back. I went and come back. Foolish one, he said. Before you go to Marapane, you should know what you should do in Marapane. Like that, before we start our spiritual journey, we should know very well what we practice, where we are going to, what are the results that we reach. That is very important. Like that, Buddha's message also very same. And Buddha says, that is why we need the association of good friends. That is very essential. One day, Bhante Ananda says that the dispensation of the Buddha, half of the dispensation of the Buddha depends on good association. What did the Buddha say? Buddha said that, Mahayavanananda, Mahayavanananda. Don't say Ananda like that, don't say like that. Not only half, but the complete Buddha Sasana, the entire Buddha's message depends on associating with good friends. It doesn't mean that we have to meet some people face to face, but it is very essential to understand what they say. That is why Buddha says, not only we should have good friends, but we should listen to Dhamma through the good friendship. That is very important. And when we discuss Buddha's message, one day Buddha says, I proclaim to the world only two things. What they are? suffering or dissatisfaction and the cessation of dissatisfaction. Dukkhancha, dukkha nirodhancha. In the past and the present, I proclaim to the world only suffering and the cessation of suffering. That is why Buddha says, Dukkhameva uppajyamana uppajyati, dukkhang nirujyamana nirujyati. If something arises, that is suffering. If something ceases, that is only the suffering. What does it mean? If we see something, if we hear something, if we smell something, if we experience something through our six senses, it means the arising of suffering. That experience depends on suffering. What is the meaning of suffering? Suffering means that we think there is something outside. And also we think that before we experience something, there was something. And also after we experience something, that experience, those objects remain outside. Whether we experience or not, those objects are outside. That is true only in the mundane level. When we go to the supra-mundane level, what is the truth? What is the reality? The reality is that when we experience something, all conditions arise at the moment. And also when they cease, immediately all of them cease at the moment. Like this sound. Before you experience this sound, it was not here. After you experience, it doesn't remain. It completely ceases. Our all experiences that we receive through our six senses are also like that. According to the absolute truth, but in the mundane level, according to conventional truth, there is something, even though we don't experience, there is something outside. Even karma, even karmic law depends on the conventional truth. For example, if you have done some good deeds, end of your life, you think, I have done these activities. Then you imagine those things, it's still there happening. Then according to our karmic energy, we go to a new life. But blissful life, because of our good activities, meritorious things. But still we are in the samsaric circle. Buddha said, Buddha's message delights in this world because of three reasons. Buddha's message it brights in this world because of three reasons. And also we should find a spiritual teacher and his noble, sublime truth because of three reasons. What are the three reasons? Aging, death and rebirth. Not just aging, death and rebirth, but the suffering of aging, the suffering of death, the suffering of rebirth. These are the reasons why we should find a spiritual teacher and his sublime truth. In this situation, Buddha has explained his message according to conventional truth and absolute truth as well. That is why Buddha has proclaimed to the world the heavenly path and the deliverance path. Saggamagga and Mokkhamagga. Saggamagga means how we receive a blissful life hereafter, after we die. That is very essential. First of all, we should have an assurance, refuge, insurance that we never fall into hell. That is more important than our life insurance. And we don't know that when, where we die. Therefore, as a person who has already received a blissful life, should have a guarantee that he never fall into hell. That is the very first thing. When Buddha attained enlightenment, Buddha realized the world, a lot of people who die in this world, as soon as they die, most of them go to the lower realms. Buddha was so compassionate, with kind heart. Buddha explained this message to the world, and also his disciples also did the same duty. Buddha wanted to remove us from falling into hell. That is the first protection, refuge that we should have as a person who has already received a blissful life in this human realm. Then Buddha explained how we overcome the samsaric circle completely. Not only after we die, but if we can eradicate, especially ignorance or delusion completely, we can end the journey of samsara. In this situation, first of all, Buddha explained his message as a gradual path. Buddha's message is like the ocean. The ocean deepens gradually, little by little, from the beach to the deeper water. Like that. Buddha's message also same. When Buddha explained Dhamma, when he had a common general audience, Buddha followed the gradual path. What is that? Dana Katha, the stories of generosity. Sila Katha, the stories of virtue. Sagga Katha, the stories of heaven. Kamanang Adinavang, the danger of sensual desire. Nekkhamme Chanisansang, the benefits of renunciation. This is the path. Finally, Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths. When Buddha met a general audience, because the audience is like a pond with lotus flowers. When we see a pond, there are various flowers. Some flowers have already bloomed. Some are blooming. Some are under the water. Like that, the audience is different. Therefore, Buddha had to follow this path. But when Buddha met a gifted person, Buddha suddenly understood his wisdom that he has developed in his previous lives. Then Buddha directly explained the wisdom, Panya. For example, when Buddha met Bahya Daruchirya and King Pukusati, Hattigam Ugga, actually, they were the gifted person. They had developed their wisdom to the maximum level. They are like the very full flowers which are waiting for sun. Buddha was like the sun. As soon as those people met the Buddha, they bloomed suddenly. But when Buddha met a general audience, Buddha says, Naham bhikkave adhikeneva anyārādhanam vadāmi. I don't explain the wisdom at the beginning. Naham bhikkave adhikeneva paññārādhanam vadāmi. Monks, I don't explain the highest thing, wisdom, at the beginning of my speech, my sermon. I explain it as a gradual path, little by little. This is the Buddha's message. All Buddha's teachings can be included into one stanza. I think all of you are very familiar. Sabba pāpa sakaranam, kusala sukha sambada, sacitta paryodapanam, etang buddhana sasanam. Let's repeat it. Sabba pāpassa akaranam, Kusalassa upasampada Sacinta pariyodapanam Etang buddhana sasanam. Here it is very clear that what the Buddha's message is. Sabba papa sakaranam, not to do any evil. Kusala upasampada, practicing good deeds, wholesomeness. Sacitta pariyodapanam, purifying one's mind. Etang buddhana sasanam. This is the message of the all Buddhas, not only Gautama Buddha, but all the Buddhas who appear in the world. Actually, this verse is same for all Buddhas. And also this is a very strong stanza. If you can repeat, if you can recite this stanza early morning, that is very important. Some people, after they wake up in the morning, when they drink water, first of all, they recite this verse for the water and they drink it for a blessing. Some people in Sri Lanka, like in, northern area and the eastern area, actually some people don't use some Valnasaka. Valnasaka, how do you say? Huh? Pesticides? Yes. Yes. They chant this stanza with water and they spread water for their plants, for their, farms. And they think that it has a very strong spirituality. That is why they used. However, this stanza also can be seen the gradual path. Sabba papa sakaranam. First of all, Buddha explains how we overcome, how we get rid of falling into hell. That is the very first thing. And that is why Buddha explained us practicing 5 precepts. Abstaining from killing beings, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from false speech, abstaining from intoxicating drinks and drugs. If someone can abstain from these 5 things, it is a guarantee that we never fall into a hell. That is a very highest assurance, insurance, protection, refuge that a person can receive in this life. Even though we are very rich, even though we have a lot of properties, even though we have many children who are well educated, even though we have a big amount of money in our bank account, if you have a very high life insurance, actually those are not the guarantee that we don't fall into hell. But if a person can be satisfied with these virtues, 5 precepts, it means he or she has a real guarantee, insurance, assurance, refuge. Buddha has explained it very kindly to us. However, the first advice is how we get rid of falling into hell, not to do any evil. The second one is Kusala Upasampada, practicing good deeds. When we come to this level, we should have the knowledge of the karmic law. Kusala Upasampada means practicing 3 meritorious deeds. Sometimes you may think that Kusala means very high, Punya means very low, isn't? But Punya also belongs to Kusala. The Kusala is the big thing. And Punya arises because of Kusala Mula, the root of wholesomeness. There is another Kusala which belongs to directly to the wholesomeness. The Kusala wholesomeness can be divided into 2. One of them is Sasava Punya Bhagya Upadivepaka. According to Mahachattarya Sutta, Buddha says, one of the right views is that the understanding of the karmic law. Sasava punya bhagya. Punya means there. Punya word is there. Buddha never neglected punya. Buddha says, don't neglect to practice merits. That is very important. And not only meritorious deeds that Buddha has explained, but kusalasa too, higher kusala too. The second right view is that Arya Anasava Lokuttara Magganga. There is another samadhi that which directly focuses on having enlightenment. One of them is in the Samudhisatya conventional truth, which consists with punya. The other one is in the absolute truth, which consists with Four Noble Truths, which directly helps us to attain enlightenment. Both of them are very important. And here, Kusala Upasambhada means practicing meritorious deeds with the understanding of the karmic law. Dana, Sila and Bhavana. Dana means generosity, sharing something with others. This is the very primary quality. If you are greedy, you are unable to meet the Dhamma, meet the good friends. That is why Buddha always encouraged us to practice being generous. That is very important. The second one is Sila or virtue. It means discipline in our speech and behavior. Sila. The third one is meditation in the mundane level, practicing metta bhavana. Buddha says, he who wants to win friends should practice generosity. Dadang mittani gantati. If someone is very greedy, he has no good friends. That is why if you want to win friends, if you want to make friends, you should be generous. That is very important. Especially when you meet Kalyana Mitra, good association, it is an essential quality that being generous. The second one is discipline or moral conduct, Sila. Buddha says, if you want to make good friends, you should have good moral conduct, virtues, Sila. That is very important. The third one is metta bhavana, practicing loving kindness. That is also very important. Why is that? We mostly suffer because of anger. Anger is one of the main reasons that we get upset, that brings us suffering. Therefore, Buddha says, he who wants to attain the peace of mind should have to practice loving kindness. If we want to make good friends, we should practice loving kindness, not only verbally, but mentally and verbally too. Metta sagata manokamma, metta sagata kayakamma, metta sagata vachikamma. We should practice loving kindness in three ways: physically, verbally, and mentally. These three things are very important. And Buddha says, in the mundane level, the highest wholesomeness is that practicing loving kindness. It is the highest wholesomeness in the mundane level. And also, if someone can practice loving kindness to the maximum level with jhana, mentally he is in the Brahma realm. Physically, he is in the human realm, but mentally he is in the Brahma realm. When someone practices loving kindness, he doesn't stop in mindfulness. He practices karuna or compassion, mudita or sympathetic joy, and upekha, equanimity too. These four things are together. They are four sublime states that the Brahma dwells with metta, karuna, mudita, upekha. Whenever we practice these four things in the super level, at the moment we have overcome the, hell realms, human realm, and even heavenly realm. At that moment we are in the Brahma realm mentally. At the moment we don't feel even our physical pains too. We are mentally healthy. That is why Buddha always encourages us to practice loving kindness. Not only loving kindness, there are 40 meditation techniques in Buddhism according to Samatha Bhavana, concentration meditation. We can practice all those meditation techniques as we are interested in. Dasa Kasina, Dasa Asubha, Dasa Anusati, Satara Brahma Viharana, Ahare Patikula Sanyava, Satara Arupa Dhyana. These are the meditation techniques in the Samatha Bhavana in the mundane level. And this is the gradual path. By practicing the Samatha meditation, we are able to overcome 5 hindrances. What are the 5 hindrances? They are Kamachanda, sensual pleasure, Vyapada, ill will, and Thinamidda, sloth and torpor, Uddacha Kukucha, restlessness and scruples, Vichikicha, skeptical doubt. These are the 5 hindrances. When Buddha appeared in the world, there were some ascetic people, but they had realized only these 5 hindrances. When we refer some discourses in the Sutta Pitaka, in many places we can see these 5 hindrances. But Buddha's effort was not only introducing the 5 hindrances, but the other one, the 6th hindrance. What is that? Avidya. Yes, avidya or ignorance or delusion. Before Buddha appeared in the world, this world had realized only 5 hindrances. But after Buddha appeared in the world, the Supreme Buddha introduced another hindrance, which is avidya or moha or ignorance or delusion. By practicing Samatha meditation, we reduce 5 hindrances first. Then Buddha says, Samahito bhikkhave yathabhutam pajanati, he whose mind is concentrated. Then he enters the highest in insight meditation, he reflects on impermanence. These 3 things are very important. Sila, Samadhi and Panya. Sila is the foundation. Samadhi is the middle. Panya is the highest thing. These 3 things are interrelated. Before we start this spiritual path, we should know very well what is the heart of the Buddhism, which is the dependent origination. In the mundane level, it is enough to know the karmic law. When Buddha appeared in the world, there were some ascetic people who had realized the karmic energy. But they couldn't overcome the samsaric circle. They think that their liberation is that the Brahma realm, going to the Brahma. That was their highest liberation. But Buddha appeared in the world, Buddha realized and explained that even Brahma is impermanent. The Brahmahood is also impermanent. And someday they have to give up it. When Buddha explained the impermanence of the Brahmahood, the Brahma was surprised, and also he was afraid of this message. And also, he also wanted to know Buddha's message. Then Buddha explained kindly the very highest teaching in Buddhism, which is the dependent origination or Patisampada. With this understanding, next we do Sacitta Pariyodapanam, purifying one's mind. It means purifying our mind from negative thoughts completely, from craving, anger, and delusion. In the primary level, we reduce greed and anger, but finally, we reduce delusion. Reducing anger and craving is impermanent. Buddha says it as Yathapi mule anupadda vedalhe chinnopi rukkhe punareva ruhati. If someone cut a tree which has a main root, again that tree grows up because of the main root. Buddha says like that. Even though someone reduces craving and anger, if he has already ignorance, that craving and anger may increase again. That is why Buddha has explained the very real solution for getting rid of suffering completely. For that, we should understand what happens to our life. Our life is completely depends on 6 internal senses and 6 external objects. The nature of these things is that impermanent. Impermanence means that not just changing. Changing and impermanence are different. Changing means viparinama in Pali language. It can be realized by anyone, even scientists. By dividing atom, they have realized, they have discovered the changing of atom. It is not a special thing. We don't need the Buddha to understand changing. But when we go to understand anicca or impermanence, it has a deep meaning. What is that? What is the foundation of impermanence? Ahutva sambhutang hutva nabhavisati. Not being occurred comes to occurrence. Being occurred will not go to occurrence. If we experience something at this moment, that experience didn't come to the present from the past. That present experience will not go to future from the present. It arises with the conditions at the moment. It immediately ceases at the moment when conditions cease. But the previous experience, previous mental formations influences the present thought. Present thought also influences the next thought, but it is impermanent. This is the highest advice in Buddhism. This understanding depends on understanding the dependent origination. For that, we should understand the meaning of impermanence, arising and ceasing. When we understand this impermanent, we are able to understand 5 senses, 6 senses, 6 objects, 5 aggregates and elements, everything that related to our mind is like that. But our ignorance or delusion doesn't believe it. Even though this is impermanent, we think, no, my friend, this is permanent. After someone blamed you, still he is blaming you. Don't forget it. When you remember it, still he is blaming. Buddha says, if someone blames you, it is enough that are blaming once. If you are ignorant, you are blamed again and again. Someone can blame you once, but actually in that first experience also depends on our ignorance. But if you are mindful, we are not going to be blamed again. if we have practiced mindfulness, when we remember something, we suddenly know that it is not the real incident. Now I am reading my mind. When we remember something who has blamed me, actually at the moment that person doesn't know that now I am thinking it. But still we are in that previous experience because of our ignorance. It doesn't mean that we should forget something. Buddhism never says us to forget. Forgetting is the big mistake. We should have to get some decisions with our memory, but we should be ready to give forgiveness. That is very important. That is why we have to practice in one level. In the conventional truth, we have to practice loving kindness. We should think everyone is like our son or daughter. On the other side, in the absolute truth, we should reflect on impermanence, arising and ceasing of our five aggregates. In this level, first of all, Buddha advised us to have a safety, not to fall into hell. Then, Buddha explains that how we make a real refuge. For that, we have to listen to Dhamma again and again. And also, very special thing in Buddhism is that Four Noble Truths. I think last days you're listening to Four Noble Truths. Okay? Actually, Buddhism has explained the deep meaning about Four Noble Truths. We can explain Four Noble Truths in several stages. In primary level, we say that when we explain the dukkha, Four Noble Truths, there are four things. Dukkha Satya, the Noble Truth of Suffering, Samudaya Satya, the Noble Truth of the cause of suffering, Nirodha Satya, the Noble Truth of the cessation of suffering, Marga Satya, the Noble Truth of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering. These things can be realized in several stages, according to our fortune, according to our wisdom. For that, why do we need a fortune? If we meet a good association, we should be fortunate. The next one is, when we meet a good association, we should be wise. Both of them are very important. As your previous good action, you meet a gem in front of you. If you are not wise, you neglect it. You look at other side. You have received a gem in front of you because of your previous fortune, actions, but now you are not wise. Like that, the present quality is the wisdom. The previous need is that fortune or having good deeds. Both of them are very important. When you meet a good association, you should be wise. In primary level, when we explain the Noble Truth of Suffering, Buddha says, Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkho, maranampi dukkham, appi sampayogo dukkho, pihe vipayogo dukkho, yampi channa labaditampi dukkham, sankirtena panchupadana khanda dukkha. Jatipi dukkha, birth is suffering. Jarapi dukkha, aging is suffering. Vyadipi dukkho, illness is suffering. Maranampi dukkham, death is suffering. Api sampayogo dukkho, associating with bad friends is suffering. And pihe vipayogo dukkho, separating from good friends, suffering. And finally Buddha says, Sankirtena panchupadana khanda dukkha. In the primary things, in the primary level, Sankirtena panchupadana khanda is the middle thing. All of them can be included into five aggregates. Five aggregates of clinging to aggregates. Five grasping aggregates. Then, there is another thing when we go to the higher level. I think mostly you have to listen to only this level. But there is another thing that Buddha has explained. Especially you have to remember it. Okay, Buddha says, Kāyikan dukkhaṃ cetasikan dukkhaṃ tapetva avasesaṃ dukkha satyam. If we have some mental and physical pain, except those things, if there are any other thing, that is the noble truth of suffering. Is there any other suffering except your physical and mental pain? Yes, ordinary people may say that no. But there is something. Buddha says, Kāyikan dukkhaṃ cetasikan dukkhaṃ tapetva avasesaṃ dukkha satyam. If there is something except physical pain and mental pain, that is the noble truth of suffering. What is that? We have our understanding, our behavior can be divided into three. They are Vijñānacārya, Aññānacārya, Jnānacārya. Vijñānacārya means the behavior of consciousness. That is the very first experience that we receive as the result of our previous actions. When we see something, when we hear something, when we smell something, our senses depend on our ignorance, our karmic energy, craving and nutrition. Now, if we have some senses, that is the result of our previous mental formations. Previous means not only previous lives, the previous mental formation, very immediate previous mental thought. If you practice wisdom at this moment, next moment you can see the results. When you practice loving kindness this moment, even though you are very angry with someone, it doesn't affect you. It doesn't influence you this moment because the very previous, immediate previous thought you have practiced loving kindness. Now it doesn't affect you. Like that. The very first experience is just a result. It is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It is neutral. That is the noble truth of suffering. If we are ignorant about the Vijñānacārya, the behavior of consciousness, suddenly we create something with Aññānacārya, the behavior of ignorance. If you are ignorant, if you are not mindful, if you are not wise, then at this present moment we create something which depends on the previous experience, which consists with raga, dosa and moha, craving, anger and delusion. If we are mindful, if we are wise, even though we have very first experience, we don't go to the Aññānacārya or the behavior of ignorance, we directly go to Jnānacārya, the behavior of wisdom. Then we don't create next, Pancha Upadānaskandha. The very first experience is same everyone. Even Arhantas have the very first experience. Even Arhantas, even Anagami persons, even Sotapanna persons, even Pruthajjana, ordinary people are unable to control the very first experience Vijñānacārya. It is just a result of our previous actions. But if you are wise, if you are mindful, we can control the second experience. Then we can go to the Jnānacārya. It means in some places in Buddhism as, karma, karma, actions. Actions can be divided into four. Atti bhikkave kammang kannhan kanna vipākam. There are some actions that cause black results. Atti bhikkhave kamman sukkhaṃ sukha vipākaṃ. There are some actions which are white that cause white results. Atti bhikkhave kamman khanna sukhaṃ khanna sukha vipākaṃ. There are some actions, black and white, that cause us black and white results. These three things belong to the mundane level in the sansaric circle. That is why we say avidya paccaya sankhara. Puññāvi sankhara, not only apuññāvi sankhara, but puññāvi sankhara and even āneññāvi sankhara. Arupavachara jnana also depend on avidya or ignorance. But Buddha says another karma with his supramundane understanding, which is Atti bhikkhave kammam akanna sukhaṃ akanna asukha vipākaṃ. There are some actions, neither black nor white, that consequence that cause us neither black nor white results. That is jnanacharya. If we are ignorant, we are going to ajnanacharya, the behavior of ignorance. If we are mindful and wise, our actions go to jnanacharya, the behavior of wisdom. Then we are not controlled by outside persons and things. That is the real liberation. That is the real freedom. Here it is very important to understand next sentence too. Very first sentence is that kāyikaṃ dukkhaṃ cetasikamṃ dukkhaṃ tapetva avasesaṃ dukkha saccam. Except physical pain and mental pain, other thing is the noble truth of suffering. Again Buddha says, kāyikaṃ dukkhaṃ cetasikamṃ dukkhaṃ dukkhaṃ ca dukkha saccam ca. If we have physical pain and mental pain, that those things belong to the suffering and the noble truth of suffering, then we may be confused. That is why we need an example. We always explain your example. What is that example? The vehicle example. All vehicles, there are many vehicles. Vehicles are here. Vehicle is the very big thing. There are many vehicles in this world, like vans, cars, buses, like that. Every van is a van and a vehicle as well. Every car is a car and a vehicle as well. All cars are vehicles, but all vehicles are not cars. All five grasping aggregates, all sufferings, all panchupadana belong to panchaskandha. Panchaskandha means very first experience, which is neutral, vijnanacharya. All sufferings, mental sufferings and physical sufferings belong to the noble truth of suffering. But all the noble truth of sufferings don't belong to sufferings. Why is that? Even Arahantas have the noble truth of suffering. That is why it is said, when someone attains enlightenment, sopadisesa nibbana dhatu. Enlightenment can be divided into, one of them is Sopadisesa Nirvana Dhatu. The other one is Nirupadisesa Nirvana Dhatu. Sopadi means, Upadi means with 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates, Panchaskandha, and the 5 aggregates subject to clinging are different. 5 aggregates means it is neutral. It is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It is just a result of our previous actions. Even Arhantas have the noble truth of suffering. Buddha never says us to remove the noble truth of suffering. Even Arahant is unable to get rid of the noble truth of suffering. If Buddha explained, even Arhantas should have to get rid of the 5 aggregates, what happened to them? As soon as they attained the enlightenment, they had to pass away. That is why Buddhism has explained the Sopadisesa Nirvana Dhatu, the enlightenment of with 5 aggregates, and the enlightenment, Nirupadisesa Nirvana Dhatu, the enlightenment without 5 aggregates. 5 aggregates means Pancha Skandha. Even Arhantas have 5 skandhas, but they have no Pancha Upadana Skandha. They have no Upadana, no Raga, no Dvesa, no Moha. They have just results of their previous actions, but they don't create new actions with ignorance. When some things, aging, sickness, death come to their life, they don't take those sufferings as they are, as myself. They have to face aging, sickness, death to their physical body, but mentally they are healthy. Those sufferings don't belong to them. They don't take those sufferings as they are, as themselves. That is the difference. In this situation, we should understand all sufferings depend on the 5 aggregates, the very first experience. But even though we have the very first experience, dukkha satya, we don't need to suffer with the clinging of 5 aggregates. If we are wise, if we are mindful, we don't go to the world, we don't get suffering. That is why, first of all, we should understand very clearly what is the noble truth of suffering. Buddhism never says us to get rid of the noble truth of suffering. Buddha says what we should do. Yes, Buddha says the first noble truth, the noble truth of suffering should be realized, not should be removed, not should be got rid of. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering should be removed. Dukkha satyam parinyayam, samudaya satyam pahatabbam, nirodha satyam satchikatabbam, magga satyam bhavetabbam. The noble truth of suffering should be realized. The cause of noble truth of suffering should be removed. The noble truth of the cessation of suffering should be achieved, and the noble truth of the path that leads to getting rid of suffering should be practiced. Samudaya satyam bhavetabam. This is the difference of 5 aggregates. 4 noble truths. And this is the foundation of our understanding what we are going to practice. First of all, we should have this knowledge as Suttamaya Jnana, the knowledge of listening with the good association. Then we should reflect on it again and again. That is said as Chintame jnana. Not only in the classroom, not only in the Dhamma hall at the temple, but everywhere you are not sleeping, but you can everywhere practice until you go to sleep. And Chintame Panya, again and again, we should think this is the reality. Then we should be permanent that understanding with Bhavaname Panya, the wisdom of meditation. By practicing Samatha and Vipassana Bhavana, concentration and insight meditation, we develop our dedication, our effort, our meditation period. The duration of practicing Samatha and Vipassana is the real success of a person. But before that, as Buddha said, Janato ahang bhikkave passato asavanam khayam vadami no ajanato no apassato. I proclaim the liberation for those who know the path, who see the path. When we see this noble truth, we understand what is the cause of suffering. You know, ordinary people, they think they know only the cause of suffering. But we should know the noble truth of the cause of suffering. That is different. Ordinary people think that their suffering arises outside persons and things. That is why you say that your children, don't make me angry. You think that outside persons and things bring you happiness and suffering. That is the ordinary concept. But the cause is inside. Self, wrong view. If Buddha said the cause of suffering is outside, not only one reason, there is another reason. Buddha says, the cause of suffering is that craving or attachment to inside. But if Buddha said, the cause of suffering is outside, we should have another reason too. What is that? Anger too. Because we have anger and craving. But how anger arises? How craving arises? If there is something outside that we are angry with, we like it. We have attachment with that. If we disagree with something, we hate them. But reason is here. Before Buddha appeared in the world, there were some ascetic people. They thought that suffering arises because of outside. Then they gave up their properties, their homes, their wives, their children, their properties. Finally, they gave up even their clothes too. But they were unable to attain enlightenment. Without removing those outside things, Buddha explained how we remove our self-view, sakkaya. For that, Buddha says liberation, the Oriya, Nirodha Satya, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, liberation from inside. If we remove the attachment to our inside, that is the liberation. It is like the main switch. Main switch is here. We can off other switch. We can off, microwave, heater, something outside. If we are going to put off the switch of devices, we have to put off everything one by one. But we don't need to it. Buddha has pointed out the main switch, the trip switch. Trip switch is here. When we put off the trip switch here, we have no any attachment or even detachment. For that, Buddha explained the path. What is the path? The noble truth of the path of the cessation of suffering the Noble Eightfold Path, Aryo Attangiko Maggo. Sammaditthi, Samma Sankappa like that. Sammaditthi, Samma Sankappa like that, some people may think that Samadhi, Sila, Panya. Some people may think that Sila, Samadhi, Panya. It is also very important. When we listening to Dhamma, Panya, Sila, Samadhi. When you go to a new place, first of all, we should know the destination. But when you go there, you start your journey from where you are in. You go to the outside from the door and you go to the vehicle, you have a seat in the driving seat and then you drive. Finally you meet the destination. But when you start, when you keep the address, you should add the house number and address to your GPS. Like that. When we start our journey with the Sutame Jnana, Panya, Sila, Samadhi, that is why Buddha says, Sammaditthi Pure Javam, Sammaditthi is first. Right understanding is first. But when we practice, Sile Patittaya Naro Sapanyo, Chittang Panyancha Bhavayam. The wise person practice Sila, Samadhi and Panya, virtue, concentration and wisdom. This is the path. The foundation of all Buddhist doctrines is that the Four Noble Truths. When we have this understanding, we are confident in what the Buddha taught, his enlightenment and his noble disciples. Then we meet all the doctrines from the page number 5. You meet all the doctrines. And when you are listening to Dhamma, you focus your mind on here. Then you assemble all the parts of your vehicle that you have already listening to. The parts is everywhere. You have your wheels are here, your seat is here, belt is here, engine is here. Everything is everywhere that you have already listening to. But you should have an ability to assemble the parts of your vehicle. When you keep your attention here, you remember, you contemplate on the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha for purifying your mind. Then you practice 5 precepts and you succeed this life, your economy, your education, your health, moral conduct and good association. Then with the understanding of the karmic law, you practice generosity as much as you can. You practice virtue and loving kindness meditation. And with the understanding of the dependent origination, you practice Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Karmic law and the dependent origination. And the mission in Buddhism, doing good, generosity and virtue and meditation. Then practicing 3 disciplines. Like that, little by little, we go forward. Our foundation is of our all activities, like that mindfulness, 4-fold mindfulness. We practice mindfulness everywhere. Then, little by little, 5 spiritual faculties increase in our life. Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya. And we go forward with the understanding of the karmic law and the Arya Satya. And we understand the Four Noble Truths. We practice the Noble Eightfold Path. And we understand our experience as 5 aggregates. And also we reflect on them as arising, samudaya, and ceasing, attangama, gratification, asada, adinava, danger, and nissarana, liberation. For that again and again, we associate with good friends, listening to Dhamma, reflect Dhamma and practice Dhamma. We have to think everything as impermanent, dissatisfactory and selfless. Then we again meet the Buddha's message, Sabba papa sakaranang kusala supasammada sachitta pariyodapanang etam buddhana sasanam. Then we meet good association, we listening to Dhamma, our confidence increases and we have wise consideration. Then we have sati sampajanya, mindfulness and comprehension. Then discipline in senses. We develop our skillfulness in our senses. And further we go forward. And Trivida Sucharita, the three disciplines, moral discipline, verbal discipline, and mental discipline, verbal discipline and behavioral discipline. And again we practice fourfold mindfulnesses and the five Satta Bojjhanga, the 7 enlightenment factors gradually increase in our life. Finally we achieve the Vimukti and Vimukti Jnana, Vijja and Vimukti, knowledge and liberation. Day by day we are getting rid of ignorance. When we get rid of ignorance, automatically our attachment and even detachment gradually decrease. Is there any question? This is the summary of all Buddhist doctrines.
You just mentioned that in the Eightfold Path, it is you said that we should go Sila Samadhi Prajna. But it is in Prajna, Sila and Samadhi is the order.
Yes, I explain it in, when we listen to Dhamma, Panya, Sila, Samadhi. For example, when you find a place where you haven't been, first of all, you should need a destination where you reach. But when you practice, you should start from where you are in. Then Sila, Samadhi, Panya. Then we explained that how when we start our journey, we should know the destination. Before we start our journey, we should understand the destination. It is first. Like that, when we listening to Dhamma, it starts with Sammaditthi. Sammaditthi means Dukkhe Jnanam, Samudaya Jnanam, Nirodha Jnanam, Magga Jnanam. Learning Four Noble Truths. That is first. Like when you start your journey, you should know the destination. And also, again, when you end your journey, again you can see the place visibly. Then again you meet Four Noble Truths. That is why in Satara Satipatthana, finally in the Dhammanupassana you meet Four Noble Truths. That is the place you have heard before. First you have the address. Imagine that address you are driving. Then finally you can meet the place visibly. We start our journey from Sammaditthi with the listening, and again, finally, we meet again the Four Noble Truths visibly. First verbally, finally visibly. When we listening to Dhamma, Panya, Sila, Samadhi, when you find a place, address, and where you are in. When you start your journey, where you are in. And finally, your destination. Like that. It has a deep meaning. When you listening it again and again, you can understand. Actually, these same things, don't worry if you don't understand. When you come again and again, you can clear your understanding. Okay? Okay, thank you for your good listening too. And, okay, by the power of these meritorious deeds, let's share these merits with our departed relatives, reciting the Gatha. Idam me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. Idam me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo. By the power of all these spiritual energy, may guardian deities and angels also receive this spiritual energy. May they enhance their divine energy. May they keep their eye on you too. May they also attain the final bliss of liberation. With that intention, let's share these meritorious deeds with guardian deities and angels too. Ākāsattā ca bhummattā devānāgā mahittikā Puñyantaṁ anumoditvā chiraṁ rakkantu sāsanam. Ākāsattā ca bhummattā devānāgā mahittikā Puñyantaṁ anumoditvā chiraṁ rakkantu desanam. Ākāsattā ca bhummattā devānāgā mahittikā Puñyantaṁ anumoditvā chiraṁ rakkantu tvaṁ sada. By the power of all these meritorious deeds, may you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no problems come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May your all righteous wishes meet with success. Finally, may all of us attain the final bliss of liberation. Dukkham pantā ca nindukkhā bhayam pantā ca nibbhaya sokam pantā ca nissokā hontu sambe pipānino. May the triple gem bless you.